Good afternoon, my friends. Oh my God, the dynamic duo. Do I mean Batman and Robin? Who knows? And which one is which? Are back again. My apologies that it wasn't the month, a month to the day. I wish we could have done that. I wasn't slacking. I know some people out there think I was. I wasn't slacking. This is a very pressurized time for myself and my partner. Yes, the excuses are coming up because we're on the verge of getting a property on the beautiful island of Bute. So there are only so many balls that can be juggled at the same time. They're all still in the air. There's a gag there somewhere. But, they've got to be kept flowing about. Balls in the air are not the easiest thing to maintain. So that's why there's a slight delay with this show. But as I say, keep tuned to this wonderful channel because we do intend to explore quite a few things from the angle of exteriority and interiority over the next couple of months, and we'll see how it goes from there. Once again, right. People are moaning about my religious title. Technically, it's father, but I don't push it, right? I pastor the church, right? I mean, it's what Catholics tend to keep quiet. You might be clergy, but what type of clergy are you? Are you a psychotherapist? Are you a pastor? Are you a counselor? What type are you? But everyone has their particular role. So I normally go by Rev. I'm very happy with pastor. It doesn't matter. I'm Cuddly David. Very pleased to see you all again and be with my dear friend Kapil Gupta. I still think we need to introduce each other very briefly before we move on to today's topic. As I said previously, I'm not a counsellor, but I have a great sympathy and interest for the work of counsellors. I am a member of the Humanistic Psychological Practitioners Group in this country, UK. But more sort of your academician member. Oh God, what does that mean? Sort of high, lofty, whatever. That's not what counselling is about. Counselling is about getting people back on track. So also somebody stop sending barbed emails. We've had one show, right? Yes, I do have an interest too in psychosynthesis. I've no official connection with that particular school or psychological discipline. I do respect it. Roberto Assagioli, who of course was also a friend of Freud, a friend of Jung's, isn't really as known in this country as he should be, to my mind. Much better known in Italy. And yes, I agree, his was the type of therapy, the type of coaching that led to, okay, we've got the ideas, we've got the techniques, we've got the methods. Now, what do we do? What do we do to get the result? Hence, you've got this sort of weird clergy person hovering around, and the man of practicalities himself, of immense wisdom and joy. Kapil, would you mind introducing yourself very briefly to our clientele?
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. I'm Kapil Gupta. And I call myself a self-discovery and relationship coach, but, transformational life coaching. I have a website called nibbana.life. I'm also a TEDx speaker, thanks to David. And I do a lot of men's work. I have background in the corporate world. I have an MBA. I'm also a fellow at the Royal Society of Arts. Here, I mostly do coaching, but I also consult with some startups as well. So that's me.
And that's a very, very good and wonderful you. I mean, certainly I think Daniele deserves the TEDx.
Oh, yes, David.
More than me, because, they were his gigs. All I did was do a few helpful things. But, and thank him from both of us for the privilege of being in the TEDx enterprise. I confess I'm working at a different angle now. We're thinking of Big Think, which strikes TEDx who, that's yesterday. Big Think strikes me as tomorrow. So watch this space.
I like it.
Big Think, yes, I know you like short shows. Hey, what are we doing? Are we attracting you or what? So today we are going to look at something topical. Roberto Assagioli, I brought him up for two reasons, because yes, I've been caught out yet again. I do have an interest in his work, not as much as Abraham Maslow, but I do have an interest. was all about, the different levels of consciousness, of the mind, of the body, of the psyche working together, knitting together. What does it mean for you? What does that mean to you? Very, very underrated and hardly pursued idea in a country driven by chemical medication, which is the UK. Get back on your horse and do what you're told. Well, maybe sometimes, but not all the time. With Sajali, curiously, he was interested in the New Age. Now, there are all sorts of arguments about what that is. Certainly, in his case, back in the day, it was all to do with international politics, setting up the United Nations, various healers, one of them being Alice Bailey, who wrote voluminously on mysticism, and quite an active force in feminism in that period. He wouldn't get involved with that because I believe he found it a little too far outside of the psychosynthetic approach. But he was a clinician, but certainly he was aware that it tied in somewhere into all of that. And he was one of the people that start saying affirmations, affirmations, affirmations. It's not just you talking to yourself. That is a very complex idea in the first place. What does it mean when you're talking to yourself? But affirmations, certainly, for me, that's positive prayer or looking on the bright side. And it does have to be maintained. Isn't that odd? Isn't that interesting? Kapil, what's your view on affirmations? Are they necessary? Are they psychological flotsam and jetsam? Or do you think, hey, that's what we need to man up?
Yeah. I think affirmations are important. My sense of, or my experience is that we have a lot of thoughts. Like our brain is continuously thinking. Like subconsciously, we may not even pay attention to it, but there's always chatter, brain chatter in our mind. And most of it is negative. Most of it is judgmental. Most of it is, oh, I don't like that. Or it's either judgmental to ourselves or judgmental to the outer world or circumstances. And I think affirmations play similar to, I think, prayer in some ways, play a really important role in taking our mind off that internal chatter to something positive. Because I think I am of the belief that we create our own reality, and universe acts as a magnet energetically, and whatever we think, we manifest at a subconscious level. Having said that, I also feel, along with affirmations, what's important is to look at the belief system that is creating that negative chatter. So affirmations by themselves can sometimes be just like positive psychology without the depth, without the gravity that is sometimes needed. So I feel there's definitely a place for affirmations. However, for best results, combine that with some deeper work, understanding your belief system and working on that. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, this sort of ties in with our previous show. Obviously, I'm very interested in belief systems. I wonder what gave that away. The fact that belief systems originally weren't meant to be belief systems. You weren't tablespoon fed a body of dogma, chew on that. That it was meant to be this much more interactive spiritual process with ideas, with experiences. Do you think that type of living organic approach has been lost? And affirmations are something to do with a rebalancing. What's your view on that?
I think so. I think there's the scientific, and this is just my own experience and what I see around myself. I think we've attached to the scientific way of thinking in such a way that we've made the external world the only way we look at life, at the expense of our internal world. And when I talk about belief system, I almost go into the Jungian way of looking at it, as in, when we are young, there are some core beliefs that we create for ourselves, which are around do we belong? Are we good enough? How are we loved? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Those kind of beliefs. And usually most of our adult life becomes like this, an external projection of how we live out those belief systems. So I think that is what I mean when I say belief systems.
Interesting. I mean, I suppose, bearing in mind the weekend we're facing in Britain, and I want to get back to that with you in future shows, I think.
Yeah.
I want to look at, right, so you have internal affirmations, you have internal beliefs, external ways of affirming what those things mean to you. I think there are things like cultural affirmations, social affirmations, dare I say political affirmations, because we're facing the coronation. Yes, I did put it that way. We're facing the coronation of a new monarch, King Charles III in Britain, this coming weekend. As most of you know, oh God, he's been waiting so long. Let him have the job. But that's the last one. That's the last one. I don't care what you say about tourism. Personally, I think we need a modern system, a modern democratic system for a modern nation. There's not enough freedom in the atmosphere here. We're all choking each other. We need a bit of fresh air. Certainly lots of people, I won't be one of them, even though I'm no monarchist and would like that institution put in a glittering museum. I'm no monarchist, but I notice lots of people are going much further than me in this particular instance and saying not my king, which of course is very strange. I mean, in a legal sense, yes, he is. No matter what you think, you hold a passport, yes, he is. But I think the whole excuse me, the whole phenomena of not affirming, that doesn't meet my internal needs, that doesn't meet my external expectation of a modern world, is really throwing the nature of affirmations into a whole new psycho-political arena for us British. What do you think? You needn't come out as a monarchist or anti-monarchist, Kapil. You can stay stum if you want.
Yeah.
But what's your take? I'm going to a pollen attack on
That's
that.
all right.
What would what's your take on all of that, and how do you find that phenomena?
Yeah, I was actually watching something earlier today where someone was talking about monarchy, but in the context of like comparing it with, say, a republic. In a republic you have a president, and they were saying, well, oh, would you rather have a king like that or have Boris Johnson as a president? I was like, interesting, interesting choice. So I think if I look at monarchy as a, like in some countries like India, there's a republic and president is a figure head of the country, and there's like ceremonial responsibilities they have. So I think monarchy in that context, yeah. But I think for me personally, monarchy as you're like loyal to the king, and like you're swearing your allegiance to the king, that feels a bit outdated to me. And what's interesting is the affirmation part that you talk about. I believe that let's say universe, God, doesn't give value judgment. It's not about good and bad. It's like, so whether we say something in negative or positive, it's the thing that we are saying that is our focus on. So if I say, oh, I don't approve of something, I think that's neither here nor there. Affirmations usually are about, okay, if you don't want something, what is it that you want? In my coaching, one of the things I focus on when someone says, oh, I don't want this, it's like, okay, I hear that, but what is it that you actually want? So if we start focusing on what we want, we can manifest that, as opposed to when we say, oh, I'm not affirming, or I don't want this, then in some ways universe is thinking, oh, you actually do want it. It's like, oh, I don't, I don't know, just think about something that we say, I don't want this in my life. And then ultimately what subconsciously you are saying is actually you're putting focus on that very thing. So it ends up happening again and again. And you're like, I said I don't want it, but why is it happening? And I think it's because we're not actually going for what we actually want. We keep repeating what we don't want.
Oh, very, very interesting. That's if ever there was a summation of the monarchy, we keep repeating what we don't want. I think that's it. As I say, I'm not a monarchist. I can see the value of that institution in ages past, but I'm a child of the Enlightenment. I believe in discussion and democracy, and I think we can all do better. I think the fact that people, I don't know, coming together and saying, let's think about it, and ruffling lots of feathers, curiously. What is wrong in a group of people coming together and expressing their view? I mean, that is very, very healthy. And I too have severe reservations about this re-souped medieval nonsense about swearing allegiance out verbally. What are we all meant to say, in our gardens and say something weirdly patriotic? Yeah, I mean, the idea, as far as we know, of modern monarchies, and certain people have redefined our monarchy, is if the monarch is the living embodiment of the head of state, a symbol, right? Fine.
Yeah.
And turns up and does rituals which are meaningful to our national life. Absolutely great. Tourists can come in and see that if they want to. But if we have billionaires who are also dictating what is going on, which is another layer of the chocolates in all of this, that is slightly different. And there's nothing wrong in people saying, hang on a second, I don't wish to give that my affirmation, and I think that's very important. Kapil, I think we're nearly out of time. Our short, punchy sessions are getting punchier. Let's get back to us as individuals.
Yeah.
Affirmations, I think, are very important things. As I say, for me, it's prayer. I can see certain types of meditation, particularly Tibetan, maybe, that go very, very strongly in that direction. What do you think we should do to make sure we've got a healthy litany of affirmations in our day or in our week, and how we keep to that irrespective of what's going on around us?
Yeah, I find a question that I ask myself when I am upset or anxious or in any of those places is I ask myself this question, what do I want? And as soon as I go back to that place of what do I want and put my attention to that in a positive affirmation type of way, I feel that I get grounded and refocused, and my mind starts to work in that direction as opposed to all the things that I don't want, or the things that are happening around me that I feel I'm victim to. So what do I want is kind of like my miracle cure.
I think that's an amazing, amazing answer. Certainly, it's what that advice, those very words, curiously, are what were given to me by a Jesuit priest many years ago, when I was a floundering cub, wondering in which direction. Was there such a thing as a vocation? What does it mean? And he ended up using that exact that incantation. Yes, I did mean that. That mantra. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And I thought that was the best advice I'd ever received. You're still a sage, my friend, and we're going in the right direction for Big Think. Remember, Big Think, we love you. Remember, keep anyone who's viewing this show and finds our work of worth, please keep viewing the show. Remember, we will be back to the correct Sunday at the end of this month, because I should have moved by then and we should be in our new home and things should have settled down a little, so I can actually think of whether I'm coming or going and not chasing banks and not chasing solicitors. On that note, have a wonderful bank holiday weekend. If it's part of your affirmation to celebrate the coronation and the work of the royals, very good luck to you. You have my blessings, and let's meet each other again in a couple of weeks. Take care.